What is up, Work here? And today I'm playing Ret Paladin on a 20 Tyrannical Rise. This is the most hated key in my guild. No one likes running it, mostly because of this first boss. So it looks like I was not quite sure. Am I going to kick that? I hodged it, sure. So we have now 3 Maguses. If any of the Maguses cast, that's pretty nasty. There's the volley. Oh, did that go off? Maybe it's not that bad. You know what? It's actually just what's it called? It's only Tyrannical 20, so that's not too bad. Or it got kicked. At the higher keys, when those go off, like everyone goes to like 50% health, or maybe gets one shot. I forget. But okay, so trash not too bad here. So mostly the Maguses need to get kicked. I probably could have gotten that. I was probably doing some rotation things. But now we're mostly trying to get this Sentinel down. This guy keeps charging, and then you need to go kick him. He just makes uptime bad. But again, trash right now, not a huge issue. Looks like a tank kick. Probably the tank has it every time, or the healer maybe. I should just work on DPSing. Did a volley go off? It's possible. Wasn't paying attention. But we're going to just keep chaining the mini bosses. Um, as the rest of the trash dies, we're just going to keep chaining them together. Looks like that was a kick. And there's one Magus left, and I want to be kind of like staying on the Magus so that I can kick it if I need to. But really, damage needs to be mostly going on to the mini bosses, and then we're cleaving after. I'm staying behind to finally kill this thing so it stops corroding us or doing the volley cast, and so that we can move on over here. I'm staying on the lower of the mobs here, and the question is, do I die to one of the orbs? As tank, you can kind of position the orb so that it hits the DPS. Or I'm sorry, oh, you can certainly do that, but you can position the orb so that it goes through the ads, the mobs, and that's actually going to hurt them. Looks like I am, yeah, focusing down the Magus. Maybe that's not always the move. There's probably people with kicks, but I just want that thing to die. And we're just going to move on to our next boss. But I guess the priority as far as damage, this is more for like next week, like a, maybe we'll do this on like a 21, 22 fortified or something, is that the Maiden's constant AoE is pretty bad, but I feel like it's probably overlaps with like corroding volley or something like that, which like never really happened. But I feel like for the most part you can heal that back up, but probably need to focus down the Maiden is the highest priority. But that being said, if corroding volley goes off, then that's rather bad. So we're in a 3-pack here. The vanguards do pretty much nothing. We need to kick that. Looks like that was grip sigil there, or was that misery? I'm not sure. And yeah, just a lot of Vengeance Demon Hunter AoE CC going out. Looks like I'm just holding mine. I'm not sure if we're in comms about it, but these are just going to die before it's an issue. So that is certainly the power of Vengeance, is that, we can group up really as many Maguses as possible, and if we burn them down fast enough that they're going to get solo CC'd by the tank here. Pretty nice. I have been AFK as far as dealing with the affects this week. Incorp. I asked if I needed to take Turn Evil, and the answer was no. So we did not. I think with this orb, not orb, so there's a question: if you have the circle and there's a group soak, do you go in? Is the question. I've heard yes, I've heard no. But what I do know is that is a pro bait. We're baiting right back into where we were. Pretty good. And yeah, so if there's Dividing Strike and you have a circle, question for the audience, do you go in or not? It kind of depends on the key level. If it's 20 fortified, then yeah, whatever. It's not that much damage. Another pro bait. Pretty good. We're keeping that footprint small and headed to the middle. But we did do this at a 23, and that gets a little spicy without like a proper defensive. Though I guess you should have a defensive anyway for that, maybe. But Tyr is rather hard to actually get through his shield phases at the higher Tyrannicals. Higher being, again, like 23, 24. Takes a lot of damage to actually get this thing down. So it becomes kind of a wall, actually. I think we actually need to be in like full, what's it called? Like full gear. Like we actually need like actually full mythic to be able to get the DPS down for the higher Tyrannical keys. It just doesn't scale super great. So I don't know why our Ogvoker died there. Wasn't really paying attention. Maybe they were already low. Maybe another reasonable bait there. Not bad. Um, or yeah, I don't know because the damage isn't too bad here. Maybe someone wasn't in. I imagine everyone was in, but burning a battle res there. We've burned both already. I wasn't even, not even paying attention to that aspect of it, but anyway, it is helpful that the boss is here, and we can still get some damage in while we're going and getting the orbs, which is helpful. And I am mostly trying not to pull that trash pack back there. And if any of the orbs, ooh, okay, let's see how this goes. If any of the orbs hit the center, I think that's like a lot of damage. It doesn't happen too frequently. And I think this is the pull where I bubble at the end for no reason. I shouldn't have bubbled. Yeah, I think I bubbled there and didn't need to, certainly. I'm not sure what the thought was there. I don't need to bubble this. We can easily live this. That's a okay bait. It's not the worst. But yeah, I'm not sure why I looks like I used bubble. That was a mistake. Mostly because that's like kind of like a lot of AoE damage that goes out that maybe the healer wasn't like, especially ready for. It wasn't planning for anyway. That's a good bait, and we're back in the center for another one of these. Oh nope, not quite yet. Yeah, but we're definitely not gonna pop 10% of health right now. And again, I've been AFK not doing the affix at all. When I play mage or some of my other classes, usually can sheep or something like that. And if I have to, I could turn evil. I just didn't take it because this group mostly handles it. If there's a DH, they have in prison, and then we have two evokers that both have really good abilities for it, whatever it's called. I don't remember what it's called. And then our rogue can usually do solo chill out one of them. That was a bad bait that's in the center, but it is towards the end of the fight, and we'll hopefully kill it before. Yeah, not a big deal. He died really quick. Does he die at like 5% or something? Or maybe we just pushed it that quickly. So we did try this at a higher key, but then just decided to like let's just bring it down to a 20 and kind of actually time it and not have like too much of an issue. Tyr really is a menace on Tyrannical, Tyrannical 23. We could do probably all the other bosses, but Tyr specifically is a bit of a wall. Not that cheese is impossible. He's kind of hard to get down, and the fight's just long, like really long. If we were gonna go for another attempt, it might be useful to actually clear all the trash off the platform so that we could actually use the entire platform because the fight's like 10 phases or something like that. I'm not sure. Again, I don't really know how augmentation works. So certain dungeons is definitely about survival. I'm not sure that this is one of them, to be honest. I guess I kind of forget, but like the extra buff and survivability is certainly useful in certain dungeons. Like that really is like the make or break. I think like Everbloom bosses and stuff like that. But this one, Rise, is a bit of a DPS check, I feel like. So at the upper ones, I think, everyone needs to be like as close to, what is it, 485 right now? I'm like not in tune with like the eye levels, but whatever close to max is, like 485 or something like that. I think people need to be like at that level to be like actually DPSing down this last one. So I normally bubble this, and I am not gonna make it, sadly. So I'm just gonna go hang out. At this point, we're in voice comms. I'm pretty sure someone's made it, and I'm like, hey, I made it as far as I normally make it. I just used bubble, and I 100% did not need to use bubble on that first boss ever. If I die through any of my regular defensives, then something's gone pretty wrong. I should never need bubble on that one. So I don't know what happened with that one. Definitely did not need to commit that. Let's see how good my 2 target is here. At the end of this dungeon, I do get the skin, the colorway for one of my dragons, so that my dragon mount looks exactly like these mobs now. That's what I'm realizing. It's this kind of like a dark brown and blue icy look, which looks especially good on my frost mage. And this is the full force of our 2 targets. Not bad. It's not outlaw good. Our outlaw rogue here is not even like fully geared. This is an alt, but still doing a very good single target or double 2 target. Pretty nice. I also stood in one of the stony orbs here. So this part's pretty chill. The only thing I've seen people do here is you kind of run through the middle. When I tank it, I just like run through each gate, which is not necessarily the best, but it's slightly faster if you kind of run towards the middle. And then I think if you, what's it called? If you kill You have to kill all the rift mages, but I think if you like get to a certain part of this circle, then the RP starts and you can like get through the portal faster or something. But I haven't actually really looked into like what the actual gain is of that. But I have seen like a slightly different version of this, but this middle part there's really not a lot different. And again, on Tyrannical 20, the trash doesn't do very much. You just have to cast, or you just have to kick with infinite burn. That's pretty much it. Though I doubt people are gonna die on a 20 to it. And we're making our way through town here. Yeah, this is a bit more through the center. And I think it's this one. I'm pretty sure it's this one, because otherwise you would, in fall, you would be fighting the center boss, the time waste boss right here. So you can kind of go through the center, and then... Oh, we've already triggered the RP. Yeah, so we're not doing anything different than that. No, this is pretty standard. On my mage, I can help tag that, but Demon Hunter jumps out, takes a ton of sand damage. Ouch. This is only fortified too. To go get this mob pulled, but we don't really have any range pulls. I guess maybe the Augvoker could have, but that works too, obviously. Probably have Glaive or something, but not really a huge problem here. And we're finishing off the final Rift Mage, and then we'll be going to the next boss. So I feel like the first boss is mostly like a DPS check, and then a mechanics check of just like managing the baits. But that's not usually too bad, other than it's a wall, but like there's not like that much to think about. The next bosses, though, do have quite a bit on the Tyrannicals, like 20 and over. Is that Morchi is pretty rough on that one. And I've also seen different ways of doing the battlefield boss where you either want to stand in the center or you don't. I think it depends on if the ads are going to kill you super fast. On the higher ones, the ads will just start to delete you. So the priority is to kill the ads. Versus on this lower one, the ads aren't too bad. And we're really prioritizing not having the boss get the buff by killing the mobs. So the way we do it is prioritizing, don't let them hit the mobs. Makes sense here. I don't think the ads are too much of a problem. But I've seen on like the higher keys, like the 25s to like 28s of this place, that like a lot of people tank them in the middle. And then the baiting is like you alternate between quadrants. You just know you're going to hit some of them, but you try not to like hit all four corners of it. And then by tanking in the middle, you get to have usually an easier job rounding up all the ads. Like the archers start to be like a real problem. Like it's a defensive if the archer shoots you in the higher keys. I don't think anyone gets like one shot here by it, but I've seen that becomes more of an issue there. So this ad, not a lot to talk about. It's pretty much single target. I think the scary thing, other than obviously the dot that comes out, you just kind of like keep facing one direction and eyes just side strafe. I don't think I get it in this case. And if someone gets it and they're not moving, I, get out of there. Maybe he cloaked, didn't take any damage. These are the real ones. So if someone has like a root, that's great, but they kind of have like low health and you just kind of kill them. You just kill them pretty much. So even at like I was targeting the Incorp, but even at a, 20 Tyrannical, like those don't have much health. Oh, this is a trash mob. That's why it's on a, okay. So that's going to be worse next week. It looks like a boss. This is obviously not the actual boss. The Incorp's just doing things, but he got silence sigiled. Or no, that looks like Dreamwalk? That's whatever like the evokers do. I don't know what it is. There's a sigil for the ads and a stun. Pretty cool. I should be in there like killing them right now probably. Not too bad there. And one spite shows up. It looks like I'm just ignoring the spite. I think that's the way. Okay, they got both kicks, and I think I used mine. Yeah, we all used ours, but hey, they both got kicked, so that's fine. And we're just gonna burn these down. I think, what is it? The knights keep trying to rally, and eventually the hand has some like those shouts. And I think we kicked the same one, so that's my fault. But then it's the hand eventually does some standing against consecration there, at the bad consecration. But then the hand eventually tries to heal or something like that, and we all have kicks, so that's gonna not happen here. And this is trash, so yeah, not a huge issue. So this one goes pretty clean, and the Morji one's pretty good too. It's mostly why I wanted to put this VOD out there. Oh, okay, I pulled. is the handling the trash on Morchi. It really is dependent on your comp, and it makes like a very large impact on if the fight's gonna work or not. So in this case, we're by the stairs. You can do the other staircase too, and it's like go from the stairs to not the stairs over here, and like pretty much none of those have been, none of the ads have been hit. That's great. Less AoE damage going out there. This is now okay. That was a silent sigil. I didn't need to run that far away because now the baits are kind of questionable, but really good so far. Almost no one has been, baiting poorly, and we have our ads back. I didn't need to run out, and we're getting uptime here on the boss. It does get a little hairier, so this is fine, and the caster is not too far away, and silent sigil again. Excuse me, is going to be bringing everyone in. That's looking great. I do not have that type of consistent CC for what's it called, as prop paladin. Kind of have divine toll. I suppose I do with if I hold Avenger Shield. We have more ads coming in. The bait dance continues. So here's where things are a little. Oh no, we got another silent sigil, so they're running in. It's going great. Actually, this is going fairly smooth. It does start to slightly fall apart. I think when we start running out of kicks, possibly. This is still perfect. We've baited everything. We've hit. Is it none? Do we have 0 stacks? That's like impossible, but we might have almost 0 stacks on the boss. And with the sigils, we just like keep doing it. I bop, and I realize I should still run out, as I think I'm kind of murdering the group by standing there. I was watching this back, and I was like, I can bop, but then move out would have been slightly better, like move to the stairs or something. But anyway, I was able to immune the damage. This is almost perfect, and then we bait it to do the grouping. Otherwise, like completely fine, and yeah, we just keep shooting it into there. But that's the problem, is if we can't round up the ads, then we do end up just like shooting it through one of the sides. But still, a 20 looking back at this, that still was like perfect until the end. So still definitely like a good strategy for it. I was just kind of looking at the different, there's not a ton to min-max in Rise other than just doing the mechanics. But like one of them is like, where do you tank the boss? And, it could be the center if everyone knows how to bait it, and you're just going to take a couple stacks. But like that one was like almost have no stacks. It was just we didn't have maybe kicks and sigils for the ads at the very last phase. So not too bad. Damage output wise, what are we like? Both 200. There's a question. I think these days, I don't know for sure, but I think that like if you do run triple DPS and everyone's like 482 to 485, that like that is more damage than having an AUG. But you trade survivability, so of course if someone dies, then it's and you're burning your battle reses, then that's obviously worse. So it just depends on the group here. But between Outlaw and Ret, where we have enough to not have that be like 50 phases, though it's a lot more obviously than I'm used to running. I was running a lot of these at like 17, 18 fortified. So we have a rogue, and I have been seeing many groups skip this pack, especially next week on like a high fortified, like a 22 or 23 fortified or something like that. If we attempt that here, we should skip these, especially if we have our rogue here. We can just shroud right through this, and otherwise the evokers can just jump over, the DH can jump over, and I can waystone. That's something I've seen. Ori, I think, is that I forget. One of the prop pals doing like huge keys is I watch his route, and they skipped that, which again on Tyrannical not a huge problem. So it could barely even did anything. So we're taking her in the center, and this is pretty cool. So this is like really CC'd by the Vengeance Demon Hunter and Evoker is mostly what's happening here. And I think that our rogue does like the mass blind as well. I do nothing. I commit no CCs for this. So we're back in the middle, and what we're waiting for is for our ads to spawn. When the ads spawn, first it's traps, but when the ads spawn, we need to kind of stop damage, at least AoE damage. In my Consecrate certainly threatens to screw this up, but right here, Familiar Faces, we stop DPS. I'm still autoing, I guess. And there is a Misery Sigil. So that looks like 17 seconds of CC. So that is like soloed by our Vengeance Demon Hunter here to CC them all in the middle. These tactics are rather necessary, or they certainly make the fight easier. And the question just becomes how much can you, I'm going to the wrong one, um, how much can you chain, right? So they're running towards us, and that looked like mine's still mass blind. And I think, what are we doing here? This is some sort of Ogvoker route, I think was supposed to happen, but didn't quite go down. But we're just letting the mechanic happen. I think mine's still rooted back there in the Ogvoker route. And then there was a mass blind. I think that went out, but I think we were like, wasn't communicated like, oh, are we gonna like, what's it called? There's another sigil. Nice. There's a misery sigil again. Pretty good. But I think we were meant to have one of the evokers do a CC, and it didn't happen. And it was like undecided if we're like, what was happening. And I might have like AoE'd them or something and broke the mass blind. So got a little hairy there for a second. But so far, this has been misery sigils, pretty much holding those down with a little bit of Ogvoker. Try not to break the CC over there. And we're single targeting down here. We've got 13 seconds to not deal with this ad. So some of it went well, some of it went poorly. And when I tank this, it's mostly, I don't have misery sigil. And what I've seen when you run prop pal, because we don't have misery sigil, is that you typically run resto druid, and they have mass entangle. So there's a lot of mass entangling going on. Is the most common way I've seen this like actually done. At least at like the 28s and like really high. It's definitely like the resto druid doing it. And that route from the evokers, that's really good too. So between the demon hunter and the evokers, this should be completely trivialized. But you do look to have that happen on the Tyrannicals here, even at a 20, which is not like massively high or anything like that, that you really get more boss uptime, especially as a melee comp, by not, what's it called? By not letting the mechanic happen, not letting them actually walk through the circles. There's also less to heal. There's nothing to heal, almost, I think, actually. There's nothing to heal if those don't go off, too. So, definitely the play there, and that's the best I've seen it done, and I played no part in it at all. It was all Vengeance Demon Hunter and Evoker and Rogue, and I just sat there hitting the boss with some mediocre single target damage. But there's a lot of downtime in that boss, too, right? There's a lot of running around and stuff like that. But good to see it done nicely, or to do it, to see it. I remember early in the season we were like trying to do that. And I just had no idea what people are talking about. But now I certainly get it. And it starts to matter again around the 20 and higher Tyrannicals. It's like, we kind of need to CC these. So it's just a lot more efficient time-wise for getting DPS on the boss. Otherwise, we're like running around and I have to, lose uptime on the boss to do the mechanic and have the thing, have my ad walk into the circle. There's also a lot of damage and, a little bit more chaotic. So that was almost perfect. I think it's basically like Misery Sigil into whatever the Evoker CC is. Looks like that works really well. And if you have a Druid who specs Mass Entangle, then, I think that's up for like every other one or something like that when I've seen it done. And the only thing I would say is like for next week is we would probably look to Invispot or skip that pack. But then you have to skip it on the way back too, so it's questionable. I think it has to be like probably like a really high key where you need that like 1 minute or something for not killing that boss or not killing that pack. But other than that, there's really not a ton of variations that can be done here. I don't think anyway. I've seen pretty much the same route over and over again, just like with like that one pack skipped. That's pretty much out there. And I've seen people tank it in different ways, but clearly watching Battlefield happen here, this was completely fine too. I might be DPSing the shade right now. Oops. It's funny because like the beings when I'm tanking show up as like not having aggro, so they're red, so I can't tell what they are. If it's like a if there's spites and those or something like that, I'm like I can't tell which is which, and it's like kind of like, oh, I just don't have aggro and stuff. But then when you're DPS, they both show up as purple. This is Quasi's plater, and I'm like, oh, which one am I DPSing? So I tab targeted to the put a little bit too much single target into one of the Incorp, so while it was dying. And so the rest of this is pretty chill here. I'm trying to think about the main thing to think about as Ret in this case is one, you're not doing any of the orbs. Because we have two evokers, it shouldn't even choose melee, I believe. I think it's going to always pick the evokers. They're just perma-range classes. They're going to get it. And the main thing is, besides damage, of course, is to second phase, consider where the tank is going to go and consider where you're going to go when the ground targeted circles show up. That's pretty much the main thing. It's usually something like the tank goes on the outer ring and DPS go on the inner, and the tank always points the frontal towards the outer ring, away, away from us. But it doesn't always go that way, and we're not like wasn't like a perfectly pixel stacked like execution of this anyway. Branch is doing work. That's like a large part of my single target as Ret until I get like the legendary and a bunch of other stuff. Our single target is not amazing. But that trinket certainly helps, and I mean obviously, but all the trinkets really help to push a little bit of single target, because otherwise Ret's like not like the best single target when we spec into our like mega AoE build here. But on this one, these are just melting. There's not a real issue here. But sometimes, like if I'm like, in a high at all, and I'm like, I have to go DPS down one of the totems, I'm like, I am definitely slower than like a DH and rogues, and some other classes have much higher single target than me. I have to use like all my cooldowns to keep up with them on that part, which is probably fine in general. So this phase, there's nothing for me to do. I'm never going to get the mechanic. Those circles are going definitely on both dragons. The evokers here. And we're in this scary part. So this is normally where people would die, possibly, is that especially with an evoker, we're getting split up, right? Like the tank's on one side, he has a frontal, maybe with some bad stuff, and then the debuffs start going out here. So I've saved my cooldowns for this. I think people lust here, I've seen that. And, we just want to get these down as fast as possible, because these are putting out dots. Not that we can see them, but I know healing this is like there's dots and they start overlapping. You can't heal everyone. You can heal everyone, but like sometimes you can't dispel everyone. So the call is coming to stack here. We didn't. The evokers are not stacking. That's fine. And we're looking to take up as little floor space as possible. So tanks to the outside, us on the inside. And we want to stack, except for the orbs, which makes sense. And the overlap is what makes that tricky. So the evokers are still on the inside. Healers staying in the orb. All getting out. Tank on the outside, us on the inside. Looks like we're lusting. And so that was my mistake to cross through here. I should have stayed on the inside. And now we've scuffed that the tank has to push the frontal. And I think I even got the frontal. Either student sand or whatnot, but I ran through. I remember saying, I was like, ooh, I didn't mean to run that way. I should stay like kind of in the middle. So the tank can always push the frontal out. So now it's a little chaotic. It's like, oh, where should, the tank go and where should we stand? It's a little broken. So now the tank is on the inside. I'm on the outside. Where should the frontal go? That way seems fine too. But generally, it's DPS on the inside, tank on the outside. It's just more straightforward, but this is fine as well. And now that it's reversed, we should continue to run on the outside, but leave a space for the tank to be able to go somewhere. We have enough room. I need to horse to get through. So we've pretty much switched. I think our tank is trying to get back to the outside and us to the inside, but it's not happening. So we've flip-flopped, sort of a mistake, that DPS are on the outside, tanks on the inside. However, if we just go with that, that's fine for now. And we're getting into the single digits. This looks like a kill. We have a battle res. Seems like we're going to be fine. And it's, again, tank inside, DPS outside. It's like the reverse, but whatever. Has been working. I think I'm like, oh, I found a little bit of a hole. And then, again, we've flip-flopped our position. So it's just like, oh, like, which way should it go? And I'm just going to bubble. As soon as this next mechanic comes out, I'm like, I'm going to bubble, and we're going to kill the boss. So I think I might have been the one that crossed the line first. I remember calling it. I was like, ooh, this was a mistake. I was like, oh, I ran to the outside, rather. I panicked. And then we flip-flopped, which made the fight a little bit harder to read. I'm not sure that everyone thinks about it that way, but it's like, if the tank's always on the inside, we're always on the... I mean, if the DPS are always on the inside, tank's on the outside, then the frontal always goes, like, really far away. It's always straightforward where it goes. That one, it was a little bit of a dance. The tank had to be like, oh, where are people? So it wasn't the best. I ended up getting a cool skin for my dragons, and a tear stone, I think, goes to Skrysis. I think I have a tear stone. Masta has a tear stone, but now so does our Ogvoker, so that is good. I will check you on the next video. Peace.